Yeah, wherever you are.
Yep. I just want to make sure all my channels are muted.
You want to throw something up on Twitter?
What's up?
You want to throw something up on Twitter? You're live or not?
Yeah, it's up there already. I'm just
All
making
right.
sure that
I'll refresh it.
All right. Yes. Awesome. We are live. Give me a second to test the audio. What's up? What's up? What's up? Yes. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. All right. What's up, everybody? This is the first episode of UFO War Room Live. We are live with my man Whistling Mike, who's a real deal UFO whistleblower. We are live with Gene Sticco, another UFO whistleblower. He's dropping some pretty cool information. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it off with Whistling Mike from the top to go ahead and discuss who you are, what it is you do, and what it is you got going on. I'm going to make sure Gene's camera's up here because for some reason it's not Gene's camera. So go ahead there, Whistling Mike. Take away from the top.
Yeah,
Please.
hey. 2+ years in the SSCI aero skiff, solving UAP drones, OSI verified death threats, accused of extortion by Tim Phillips of Aero, blackmail from the FBI, all lies. No quarter asked, no quarter given. What say you, Gene?
That's how I like it. Good intro. Yeah, so I had some Soviet-era UFO reverse engineering documents dropped on my lap in 2019, and since then I've been researching them, aligning them to U.S. programs, patents, figuring out the paperwork trail of what's hiding in plain sight in a lot of ways. And prior to that, I was retired, but wound up getting dragged in. But I was previously a intel contractor in the oil and gas industry globally, and a corporate whistleblower, actually against big oil in a case that went all the way to the UK Supreme Court.
Wow. So what were in those documents that that your father-in-law had? Like what exactly was it specifically? Like, are you aware of what the information was?
Yeah. I mean, we translate it. Essentially, it's a unified. It's the unified theory of what he calls gravitational charge dualism. That from that, then he describes and details this UFO, and he specifically calls it the UFO, the saucer. He makes a lot of references to other, another sighting that had occurred, I guess, during the period that they were, reverse engineering this thing. But it's, the schematics and the science, it's essentially him explaining and working out how this thing works and flies and doing all of that, putting it back together under this theory of gravitational charge dualism.
Huh. Interesting.
That's kind of how myself and Gene got together, because some of that information he released, there's some key things in there that caught my eye and were pretty well developed into. So I can tell you there is some legitimacy to these papers, which is of course what Gene's the track he's trying to run down.
Right. And I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it yet because I just started talking to Gene basically the last couple of days. So I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. We're going to do an interview and things like that. But I would definitely like to take a look at it. And you said like a lot of it might have something to do with what the stuff that Dylan Borland was talking about as far as his ship.
Potentially, generally what I've been able to do, so I can kind of do a forensic examination of whistleblower testimony against these documents, sort of using it as a baseline, right? So my working theory is, if this is the Soviet work reverse engineering a UFO, then the US, if the US were to reverse engineer a UFO, you'd expect there'd be a lot of similarities. Well, that's exactly what I'm finding. So in the same way, from Bob Lazar's testimony to Dylan Borland's, I sort of, forensically examine and compare to see if the science backs what they're talking about. And then further, another step to take in that I haven't taken yet would be then to compare it against what I've already identified within the declassified program pipeline to see if we can start making any correlations, directly into programs and agencies. So, Dylan talked about in one of the interviews this energy source. Well, the papers describe in detail this compact thermonuclear system and how it works and uses heavy water, which essentially would be like a free energy massive system. So much like Mike, we're finding truth in the documents from both science that's matured since these were written in the 1980s and 90s, as well as correlating against whistleblower statements and information, the information that can be released. We're sort of able to corroborate it scientifically in a sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's incredible. So I wonder if any of that has to do with the stuff that Gerb was talking about on Jesse Michels and stuff like that. Like does it correlate? Does it coincide? Like how much of it is linked? Because we want to see if those documents are legit. So you said that they're basically the Russian equivalent of what would be Area 51, right? Like that's kind of cool.
Well, he worked at the equivalent at one point, but yeah, the collection. So as I started going down this path as well, the legacy program and who's who, I did a lot of focus on the Department of Energy.
I mean, that's got to be where you start. I would assume that that's where you would start. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and the reason for it is because in the whole disclosure issue, there's this idea, okay, the president hits the podium, he can declassify anything he wants. What he can't declassify are Department of Energy classified programs. That has to be done by the department itself. And so I had sort of explored, similarly to Gerb, well, what's the structure? What's the organization?
Right.
As it, relates to the papers I have, they describe a thermonuclear system. So if similarly the United States had reverse engineered a similar craft, or if the program that my father-in-law worked within, those documents, wound up in U.S. hands after the fall of the Soviet Union, because it has a nuclear component, it would automatically be born classified, as the DOE calls it, fall under that system. And, that again relates to these complicated structures that Grusch testified about, so, Whistling Mike again is sort of dealt with it on the, the next levels. I'm working purely from, the theory of this being nuclear related, it's going to go into DOE. And I think Mike's more on the other side where everything sort of, may fall under the executive classification system.
Yeah, and they like locked it down, right? Like I don't want them to.
It's locked down one way or another. Yeah, I mean, I've always had the question proposed of, well, where did this come from, right? Because people just automatically assume we didn't create it, or the folks that or UFO or NHI that we've got it from somewhere. And I've never really seen a paper trail until me and Gene started talking that really had some weight to it, where you could say legitimacy and start to look at it. So I mean, one way or another, this goes somewhere, and wherever that ends up is definitely going to be classified one way or another.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was worried, because like they were, you and I were talking, and like I think Gene was saying, yeah, they were trying to get me to go into a skiff. I'm like, yeah, of course they are, because they want to just fucking lock down what you're saying. Like Borland was like, yeah, they took my drawing and they took this and they took that and they threw it in a skiff and said you can never talk about it again. It's like, what the fuck? Like they classified it and said you can't talk about it. So it's like,
don't get clearance. Yeah, don't fall for any of the normal tricks.
Yeah, come on in this room, kid. Ignore the plastic. You're getting whacked. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's going to be an issue, because in the legislation that was being drawn up for the NDAA, which passes every year. It has to for the defense budget, basically, when it goes to appropriations. Rather than putting stuff in the UAPDA, which they knew wasn't going to pass, we can get into that later, but the NDAA said that they were going to make individuals that came in to essentially testify on UAPs in the SCIF aware of the restrictions they would be under. In other words, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Whatever you say, you come in here. And my guess would be how they're going to do that is they're going to make everybody get a TS clearance, which is TS clearance is so simple to get. You're talking about SSCI, so they can make one phone call and get it for you. So it's going to be that sort of rigmarole where you are essentially locked down before you go in. You won't have another trouble causer like me out blurting his mouth off about what happened.
Right, because you weren't keeping your mouth shut. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword with that. So it's kind of interesting. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and get this started. I don't want to keep you guys too long for today. We're just going to do like a start and stop. I'm going to listen to what he's going to say, and we'll talk about it. If you guys want me to stop it at any time, just say stop, and then I'll stop it. If you have something to say, we'll talk about it. All right?
Yeah,
So
you can.
I've yet to see this. I'm a big Dave Grusch guy. I think he's one of the most legit guys. I believe in Borland and Matthew Brown, and I think Bob Lazar. I think those four guys are the guys. But what do you guys think?
Well, I've got problems with the plan, right? Not with David Grusch himself, but I don't like the plan that's been going on. I don't like the plan as it stands, and I have no hope for the plan in the future. So it's not a personal hit on Grusch. You know, if I see him on the side of the road with his hood up, smoke coming out, I'm going to stop and help the man, right? But
right.
I feel like what's going on right now is we're putting together a UFO conference. You know, scan the crowd when you go to these things like the hearings. This is not a hearing, and the folks that are putting it on don't have the power to subpoena. That was all SSCI. Those are people that can immediately call the Department of War and get someone on the phone. They can request classified files, satellite photos, and dig into it, and they're all on drones. So everybody needs to remember these are two different things, two different groups. And the group you've attached onto is the orbs and the mummies and the nonsense.
Right.
You need to get rid of the UFO.
The woo as they call it. Right.
This isn't a fucking UFO conference, right? This isn't contact in DC, this sort of shit. We got to get back to some science and some real investigative work. So again, it's not anything against Grusch, but we've got to do something different.
The problem is, short of them dragging a fucking alien out, a live one, no one's going to believe anything that they present. So like the mummies, the this, the that, pictures, images, videos. Because in the very first hearing, I don't know if anybody watched it, there was like 20 minutes worth of video footage that they linked to the hearing in the description. And like one of them showed an orb cloaking, and I had personally never seen anything like that in my life. Watching an orb disappear here and then fucking reappear like on this side, I was like, holy shit, that blew my mind. But nobody was paying attention to it. I'm like, I don't know, it was crazy to me. And the second one, it was all about what the elected officials were saying. I'm sorry. It was all about what the elected officials were saying. It wasn't about what the questions were answering. It was them saying hybrids and stuff like that. It was like, fuck. Go ahead, Gene,
and all the whistleblowers got thrown into a meat grinder. Like name one of them that's happy now with their life after going to it. It's the wrong setup.
Yeah. Even Borland's kind of fucking miserable. They all look miserable. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to, I can echo, I agree with Mike, and I probably, I approach things a bit more skeptically, in the sense that I don't, don't get me wrong, I don't disbelieve them. I just don't quite get the motivations yet. I still don't quite get some of the framing. I don't know if it's, for dramatic effect. So again, there's parts of me where sometimes I'm like, are they stretching this and that just for impact? Is there a bigger thing? But overall, I think, to Mike's point, it's the problem becomes all we have are stories.
Right.
And they're regurgitating the same story over and over again and trying to, perhaps frame it a little differently or, clarify. And it just starts losing some authenticity as they're going through that. Which, again, I'm pushing and trying to get people's minds around that if we can make some of these links directly to programs, if we have some basis from which to begin
something to tie it to,
exploring, right, something to tie it to, looking at the programs, again, with Whistler Mike, he didn't come into this from the UFO UAP perspective. It was purely advanced technology perspective. Right. And, and rightly so. And, similarly with me, I think that a lot of what is seen now is ours, but the question is more of an origins question. And if we don't get down to the origins of the programs through the decades and come to a resolute, at the end of that is the answer of whether it came from reverse engineering and materials from off Earth. Now, whether they're NHI, whether they're reptilians, whether they're anything else, let's table that for now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we don't have a starting point from which to build. And as the public, we're not giving the politicians any leverage for a win. We want everything. We want it now,
Right. It's like kind of like toddler. I want an Oompa Loompa now, Daddy. Like it's
right. Exactly. And it's like, oh, that's a lot to take care of. Why don't we start with a plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's and we, when we have this expectation that the general public, just needs to block their nose and drink the medicine of everything that comes out. So yeah, I agree. There needs to be a much better plan. It needs to be more grounded. We need something to anchor it against which to compare. And
Right.
at the end of the day, without that, then it's just cycle after cycle after cycle. But it's there. We just need to get in front of the right people to ask the right questions of the right agencies. And I think that's where we need to be focused on instead of just more story time.
Yeah, but
And
the problem with
that's my whole thing with like the UFO conference right now. If you are a UFO person, if you've been following this, you scan the crowd, you know those people, they know exactly about all the facts of the 3 different types of species: the 5-foot tall lizard people, the Nordics. They know that the Nordics come here and breed with Earth women. But to the general public at a hearing on the Hill, that's not how you grab attention or belief, which is what you're going to need to push this forward. And that's kind of where I echo Gene. Let's take a couple steps back. Let's talk about some science. Let's get some polygraphs on the record. Let's have people following us, not immediately into the craziest echelons of the beliefs around this, which is what it's turning into.
I can totally 100% get with that. I loved your polygraph idea too. I thought that was absolutely fucking genius. There's no reason why these people shouldn't be against it, I don't think, right? Like if you do,
they've all had one, I would guess, in their career, most likely, with some of the positions they've been in. So,
well, yeah, I mean, Borland said he has had a polygraph, so there's that. So it's what the fuck. Sorry. So yeah, there's that. It doesn't make any sense. I mean,
well, this is where we should get into it, because as we all know, David Grusch is a big part of this, and we're trying to get this plan to change from where it's at, make some headway, and get this thing going with some wills.
Yeah. Give me 30 seconds. I'm trying to get the Twitter feed on. I'm sorry. Well, here, let me get this started. Okay, I'm just going to skip the Twitter feed for today. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it going. It fucked up. All right, let me get it going.
That has really seems to have, there's a deeper program called the Legacy Program.
Yeah.
That has really seems to have been trying to hide the most shocking pieces of what we know from even the UAP task force. We've had, Lou, Elizondo on this show, and he talked to us about some of what we'd learned. This is years ago. I mean, it was when we first launched the program in 2020. But here he is as part of the documentary, Age of Disclosure, speaking to what this legacy program has uncovered. I'm just going to run the SOT 54 here.
We discovered another deeply hidden and much larger UAP program. This program was so sensitive that it was withheld from the Secretary of Defense, Congress, and even the President of the United States. This program is referred to as the Legacy Program. This program had been capturing, retrieving, and reverse engineering UAPs since at least 1947. On numerous occasions, these retrievals included the bodies of non-humans, some sort of intelligent being that is not human.
On numerous occasions. I mean, that is just stunning, David. To like people who don't follow this, he's saying they found some sort of alien beings' bodies along with the crafts, that the government has had it for decades. It's happened multiple times, and that they're all, the whole theory of the entire movie with all of these storied experts, these are not crackpots. I mean, if they're crackpots, boy, they found dozens of them who have been at the highest levels of our government over generations, who are all saying, yes, this has happened. And the reason that they keep it secret from everyone, including, they point out in the piece, our own presidents over time, is what?
Temporary employees.
Well, it depends on the time epoch in which administration. Certainly, there were former secretaries of defense and presidents that were briefed on this matter. It depended on their level of trust that the deep state, if you will, the lifers in the governments had with those said individuals. And unfortunately, this subject has been a victim of a lot of, I'll call it domestic information operations, something I discussed initially publicly in 2023. And there's certainly been this Game of Thrones activity with multiple factions of the deep state in a bipartisan manner. The Republicans and the Democrats are both guilty. And even in a recent previous administration, in the Obama administration, there was certainly actions taken strategically to help a particular presidential candidate, possibly if this subject were to become normalized and they got elected president. So there's been a lot of
pause them there, Vito.
And a lot of
So yeah, there's a lot there. I don't want to get too far away before I kind of just hit on a couple key points. But
go for it.
Whether you believe this is NHI or not, the United States of America, and Gene can definitely talk about this, has always had a crash retrieval program and the insight to always steal anybody else's technology when you go back to 1 and 2 of other different planes. And I think a lot of times when this starts getting going, this snowball down the hill, we start conflicting the two. And you hear some of that when they say, oh, James Clapper knew and this people knew. I guarantee if we captured, and we're going back to 1 and 2, a MiG, Clapper would know about it, right? I mean, this is some stuff that's normal that I think is being inflated a little bit and then putting another spin on it of it's all alien. The president wasn't briefed on it. The gentleman that was the trigger man for the Osama bin Laden raid, he did an interview on Tucker Carlson, and he was stating what happened at the Situation Room, right? You're in the Situation Room, so basically the skiff, talking about your options to take out bin Laden. And they went through 2 options. One option was to drop a bomb. They didn't want to do that. The second was they were going to fly in, but they knew because of the helicopters they're going to use, they were going to run out of gas, get captured. And then a gentleman at the end of the table spoke up and said there's a third option. And that's where the actual helicopters they used came in. And he said even the president didn't know about it. So again,
yeah, those are supposedly set. You're talking about the Maduro raid just now, right? Those are supposedly like souped up helicopters, weren't they, or some crazy shit? Or?
Well, so the one that crashed the Osama bin Laden raid, yeah, we only saw the picture because it crashed, and no one, even senators who've requested information, have been able to get more information on those. When you look at how long ago that was, decades ago, we just spent a couple billion on helicopters that are nowhere near as advanced as the ones that crashed 20 years ago, which is another thing you hear in this, which is like, well, if we had that, why would we be building F-16 still? So this stuff's all normal. And unfortunately, people in this arena don't really have that inside or investigate. The part that's not normal is when you start throwing in alien biologics, crash pilots. It's not to say that didn't happen, but you can't get the two mixed up for what's normal.
Right. It adds like a woo effect to it. Like,
yeah, I mean,
there were pilots.
And now all of a sudden, because it's the woo, it's this thing that's never happened before. So,
right.
Gene, am I barking up the right tree here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how far into that we were, a couple of minutes or whatever. Did he really say anything new?
No, but she was acting like it was. And I get why they're doing this. So this is for the normies. This isn't for like people like us. And that's what I was saying about the other thing. That wasn't for that one interview. It wasn't for the age of disclosure. The age of disclosure was for normies. It wasn't for people like us who were vested into it. Now, obviously, Gene, you're probably more into it than I am because you know more of the names. But I'm learning a lot of it because I'm still new to the whole who's who and what's what and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is for the normies to like basically break it for normal people. That's how I see it. It's like, oh my God, they were alien bot. Like, Megyn, stop it. You're in she's in what, her 40s? Got to be at least. She's had to have seen a couple of UFO movies. You know how the shit works. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, no one's dumb. That's my thing. Is they act like people are stupid. No one's stupid. We know what the fuck's going on. The average person has to know. Like,
so I mean, and that's again, that's what I think in everybody in the community assessing these interviews is to keep that in mind, right? Are we really learning anything new out of it? Now this one here, when he sort of makes talks about Clapper, in the one sense, okay, maybe that's something that hasn't been said before, but to Mike's point, well, that would kind of be by default. And again, is he trying to just throw the guy under the bus a little bit to a degree? And Mike, you raised another good point about the helicopters that were used in the bin Laden raid, because I had somebody recently comment being critical, saying, oh, if Russia had this kind of technology, why is it taking them 3 years to in Ukraine? Why haven't they just, well, because again, risk reward. You're not going to use your most sophisticated, highest cost, most secret technologies on a land issue, right? On a border dispute, on a
it's just like, why don't you just nuke Kiev for fuck's sake? Like,
right. So because look what happened to the US, right? They rolled out that helicopter. Had it not crashed, we still would never have known or heard about it. And yeah, it might have been used in like the Maduro, but it did. And now that's the end of it. That was our we blew our wad in that one shot.
And again, just to reiterate, we just did a contract for a couple of billion for helicopters for the military that are nowhere near advanced as the one that crashed 20 years ago. It's stupid, but this is what we do. This is how we spend our money.
Yeah, on a $1 billion piece of equipment, or like, let's just abandon an entire fucking thing and leave billions of dollars of equipment behind and go, oh, no big deal, and then watch them fucking parade it down TV and then hide it from the media. Like, that I'm not
well, and then they're and then
insane,
they're exploiting it as well.
Right. It's crazy. I didn't know that there were special helicopters used for the bin Laden raid. I'm hearing rumors about this Maduro raid that the soldiers did this and they were super, and like it was
you're probably getting that helicopter from 20 years of advancements, but when the one crashed, they tried to blow it up. The tail ended up being left. We demanded it back. From my understanding, it went to China first.
What's up, Ty?
And then eventually got back to us. But I mean, like Gene said, yeah, now everybody knows about that, and it's going to be exploited.
Yeah, that was just crazy. So I wonder if there's truth to what they're saying about the Maduro when they went and got him, and they had like these crazy soldiers and like all this crazy shit going on. Like this dude was one of the soldiers was talking about.
Well, again, yeah, not to get off track here, but when you hear that story, it is insanely impressive, right? Something happened. Soldiers were falling over, bloody noses, vomiting, couldn't move. But what would it take to do that, right? Well, here's what it would take. Drones that would be flying high. Some of them would land on the ground so that you don't have a corridor block off where there's buildings to still relay the signal. We had the satellite vision, knowing exactly where to land and where to fly them. The helicopters with the guys stay above that, so they're not inflected by the signal. It's a lasting effect, right? You rappel down, like they said, grab the guy, get back in and go. So it's not technologically that impressive as it sounds. It's just we use some of the nasty shit we don't normally use, you know?
Yeah, like they dropped them down with the sound shit. So yeah, it's fucking crazy. Or they don't use publicly, or you know, you don't hear about it on big missions like this. It's like Black Ops shit, or nobody hears about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what this was, right? This was, a quintessential Black Ops mission. I think what is interesting is that the government is being so transparent and vocal about those, more sensitive operational issues, and are somewhat celebrating it, which, as Mike and I have talked about too, means that
It's like winning an Xbox. It's just shit talking. Like it's
it's not only that, it's like, oh, if they're willing to talk about this, then that means this stuff is at the end of its life cycle, and something nastier is hidden away somewhere.
There's always something the president doesn't know about, right? Back to that situation room.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. That's fucking
so
crazy.
it's a message to, it's a warning to the Mexico and the others, Iran, all the rest.
Yeah, fuck around and find out. That's how I see it. And I kind of listen. I like the peace through strength thing, man. If you got to show, listen, it's just like the bully. You got to show a little bit of force, break that bully's jaw, and he never fucks at you again, right? It's the same thing Trump's doing. I'm with it.
It's even the point before, on here people say, why are you not using what you have to help humanity? Well, first you get caught up in the whole Invention Secrecy Act, then you have ITAR that they pin you down. But at the end of the day, the fact that you can wipe somebody off the face of the earth is really what prevents battles from starting. They didn't even have to get to the point of breaking someone's jaw.
Yeah.
If they know you're a dead man on the spot, that'll deter most people.
Yeah, I mean, look at their, they're not even explaining what's striking the fishing boats that they're talking about, that they're whacking out of the sky out of nowhere. Obviously, that's a directed energy weapon or something. That's not, there's no way in hell that's any type of missile. That shit looked like a laser blast every time it hits it. Like it's or some type of kinetic blast. It obliterates it. It's crazy. I've never seen some shit like that. But I mean, that's, I guess that's why we reverse engineer these things for that reason, right? It's crazy. Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think it's just a matter of tracing down the origins, and we find, they've found ways to weaponize all sorts of aspects along the way, and that's, generally where it stops, as opposed to becoming anything useful or beneficial to mankind. I've always said, it's part of the problem is, if we think about this in terms of exploiting extraterrestrial technology, right? Advanced technology. So the U.S. taxpayer has funded the troops that go out and recover it, funded the movement of it to new places, funded the research and exploitation of it by private corporations. Those private corporations, if we're lucky, or those private corporations then weaponize it, which then we give them more money to buy the weapons that they've exploited from them. And then if we're lucky, we get some sort of civilian thing. So, GPS, let's say, being one of those things that originated in the military, or, ergonomic pillows that originated in NASA. And then we still get to spend $1,000 or more per product that we get out of it. And it's like, well, where's the return on investment for the American taxpayer? Now the government will say, well, it's in jobs, it's in tech. That's good for a couple thousand people.
Right.
But,
Or where are these fucking med beds that Trump was talking about a couple weeks ago that just suddenly disappeared? Right. And what the hell is a med bed? Like, can I get on the med bed? Like,
now, my guess is David Grusch knows. We should let him keep talking.
Yep.
I'll call it House of Cards type activities in the past. But it is true that a lot of people have been withheld. I found it deeply disgusting and shocking that even I was not fully accessed into these activities, and I did have a congressionally mandated need to know. I investigated this on behalf of the first Trump administration and some of Trump's cabinet members and Senator Rubio when he was a senator, now Secretary Rubio, and providing my findings up the chain. I was just very disturbed to find how this was controlled, the self-licking ice cream cone, unaccountable.
Never heard that
Everybody owns a piece. Nobody owns the outcome, and there's not really a mob boss. The closest person we got that I was aware of was, unfortunately, now deceased Vice President Dick Cheney, Darth Vader himself. Not shocking that he was involved in this.
Darth Vader himself.
Essentially, when he left in 2009, that was the last time that these activities really had central leadership.
I shouldn't even be talking about this, but Powerball and Megyn are trying to put me in jail.
We get a commercial break. I think it's a little bit shitty that everybody's sort of coming out now.
Just calling Dick Cheney a cock, right? Just like,
yeah, the guy. Okay, last time he had it was granted. Okay, yeah, not the most popular figure, but 2009. He leaves the program. Well, 2017 we started talking about it. So if you wanted to talk about Dick Cheney in his role, that was the time. Now unless he was truly the Darth Vader and they felt like he was going to put the force, grip on him or whatever. Kind of shitty to throw the guy under the bus now.
I mean, again, Gene, tell me here, if you got something captured, if you were building something to wipe humanity off the face of the earth, let's go back to the Manhattan Project, for example, would Dick Cheney know? The answer would be yes or no.
So I think he'd absolutely know, right? And I think not only by his
normal he would know.
Not only his government position, but his his corporate ones as well. Remember, he came out, he was in the private sector in the CEO, I think, of Halliburton when he got the call to be vice president. He's deeply connected to your.
That's as deep as the state goes right there, buddy. Like, what the fuck?
The defense industrial base, the Lockheeds and all the rest of it. I'm pretty sure, through the years they were sitting on boards and whatnot. And George Bush Sr., lest no one forget, was the director of the CIA.
There's no way in hell he wasn't in charge of everything.
But, I mean, again, this gentleman would know. So really, and it doesn't matter, it's not a political thing of Dick Cheney, Obama. But during that situation room, Obama was the president. He didn't know. Dick Cheney did. So because he knew, whether it was by the strong arm or because they trusted him, the fact of the matter is, I can't hold that against Dick Cheney, that he actually knew what the fuck we had in our weapons program. And I think the Darth Vader view is simply the fact that he said, quit fucking telling people about it, quit investigating about it, which is what I've been through when I brought in unrefutable evidence that things are ours that you're not supposed to know about unless you can prove it. This is just the fucking industry and the way it works.
Yeah, shut your fucking mouth or else, basically, is what he was saying.
Yeah. And again, Dick Cheney's a different generation of politician, right? And he grew up in that period professionally / politically, in the height of the discredit, right? Discredit, deny, all the rest of it. So,
and hit back harder.
Yeah, so you can't expect that all of the sudden he's gonna, Tiger's gonna change his stripes, whatever the saying is.
Yeah, you got that right. Lost my mouse.
Because the film posits that, the current and the last head of CIA probably don't know, but there's like lower branches within the CIA that have specific responsibilities, and the career employees there probably do. And they don't look at the political appointees brought in by a president as someone to whom they need to disclose anything. They're like, this guy's going to be gone in, a year, 2 years, 4 at the most.
If that.
I'm not going to keep disclosing this to person after person. I'm keeping this very dark,
2 hours
as
in.
my predecessor did. And it also posits that when it's super secret, they've been offloading the research to private contractors, and that way they don't have to include any of these disclosures in response to FOIA requests made of the federal government, because it's been given to a private entity. But that too leads to no accountability and no person over the life of 20 years who's got real responsibility, because companies get sold, new people come in, and then these companies may just exploit the materials for the latest technological advantage. Who knows? Like, I don't know, some AI development or some fast speed train development that a company may have used the
All right, Vito, hit pause
information
for a second if you can.
to build a commercial.
And I'll make this quick so I won't get stuck here. But again, everything here that's said is normal, right? So the heads of the CIA, believe it or not, are busy guys. 1% of 1% goes across their desk. They need some really expensive technology that can do some crazy things. People underneath of you would be the ones to put the team together, hide the program. That's literally what just got said here, but it's being promoted as this sort of, it's a UFO and we're keeping the UFO away. Not, this would be normal if you go back and look at things like the SR-71, any of the development of the U-2, of how normal things work in this industry. And again, FOIA, give me a break if you really think you're going to find the secret answer to this in a FOIA.
Or it's not going to just be a solid black page of redaction. Like
we had UFO. So yeah, and I won't get hung up on this, but everything being said so far is completely normal of how things work. It's just because the key UFO stuff's being thrown in it that it's being promoted as something bigger than what it is.
Right.
There's still no proof that he's saying it's a UFO. That's my problem so far. It's just running during the normal operation.
Who knows what it is? It could be a UFO. It could be a new stealth technology. It could be reverse engineer craft. Could be anything for sure. Yeah. Again, it's just short of them dragging it out there, you're never going to know what it is.
Advantage with.
That's totally true. You've actually accurately described how it is. Early on the global war on terror, a lot of the money that was initially given to these companies was essentially reallocated for overseas contingency operations. And these contractors essentially started to do their own thing, if you will, something called IRAD, Internal Research and Development. And privately, they continued certain things that actually the government was trying to cancel as it relates to the subject. And they went off and retrieved and exploited things essentially on their own and only loosely accountable back to their government handlers. And it's funny you mentioned the CIA. Naturally, there's a lot of good men and women that work there. My wife actually was a CIA officer, and she also served in the Air Force with me. But Chairwoman Luna and the task force and the committee staff, certainly I assisted in my other...
Of all the shit, hold on a minute. Let's dial this the fuck back.
Okay. That was man. He tried to get past that quick, didn't he? Gene?
Yeah,
really?
Like,
and by the way,
hey,
but let's
look,
get on
Superman.
with it.
Like, oh yeah, my wife worked for the CIA. Hey, look, fucking Superman's right there. Hold up, let's fucking dial this back, because why is it that this wasn't revealed till now? So you found out the dude was an alcoholic. He had PTSD. He had this. He had that. A drink problem. Blah 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 blah. Again, all normal human things, especially with the shit this man probably dealt with and saw. Right. So how is the CIA thing was just brought up? I've never heard this before. Have you guys heard this before till now?
I heard it before. Yeah. I mean,
I heard the rumor of it, but not him saying it, I guess. What did you hear, Gene?
Yeah, no, I heard, his wife worked for the CIA. And again, it's just because, you've got that title, CIA officer. It's not necessarily as exotic or sexy as,
of course,
people like to think that it is.
Makes you wonder if they, I don't know, maybe kind of like how they're trying to say that Charlie Kirk got with Erica because she was tied to all this other shit. That's what the conspiracy is. You know what I mean? Like she was an operative. So I wonder.
I'm
not saying David Grubb's wife.
I think they married in the Air Force, and she kind of got that.
He's gonna say something big about the CIA, but before he says it, he just made sure to let you know. And his wife worked for the CIA, but like Gene said, doing what? Answering phones, a case officer.
Right,
Were you involved in technology and the development? Right. In which case, I can't imagine you would have brought her name up. That would have been a mistake. I mean, it's just this doesn't make any sense.
True, but that was like, wait, what? Holy shit.
It was a weird way to put it in and then move on, and no questions on that from Megyn Kelly. But it is what it is. The story's building.
Yeah, all right.
A professional capacity, helping Representative Burlison's office, did send legal interrogatives to several agencies and private companies. CIA was one of them. And curiously enough, CIA provided what I considered an extremely disrespectful response. They declined to answer our interrogatives on this matter, which is their participation in crash retrieval operations,
CIA
and
said,
just
"Suck
referred
it."
us to the Pentagon's Aero Office, which has a nebulous and concerning history in itself. And I just find it very interesting that CIA did that. Now, I'm not saying John Ratcliffe or Michael Ellis, who's the acting general counsel and deputy director, had a hand in that response, but they certainly are the leaders of their organization. John Ratcliffe has spoke positively on this issue previously, and I would hope that John Ratcliffe was placed there by D&I Gabbard and the president to enact some reforms on the CIA. And unfortunately, the CIA has a lot of skeletons in its closets.
No way.
Other things I know about that I can't talk about that are conventional national security issues. But the crash retrieval issue, unfortunately, is certainly one of them. And they've done a lot of concerning things.
What's being alleged by you and many others is that they have literal skeletons in their closet or whatever.
They do.
Whatever's inside an alien being. Because it sounds crazy. Did you just throw it out there short form? It sounds crazy, but person after person, distinguished scientist after intel person is making the same claim, validating the stories about Roswell, telling other stories that have happened at many military facilities with what appears to be a clear alien craft coming overhead, looking almost diamond-like in shape, being huge, sitting there, hovering, coming from something like 80,000 feet and dropping down, then hovering in a way that no vehicle that we know of right now could possibly do, nothing invented by man. Here is a montage from the movie of top U.S. officials talking about how all of this is relevant because it may pose a serious national security threat. It's SOT 42.
We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours.
I'm just curious, couldn't they get better video quality? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to skip over the age. I think everybody's seen this ad nauseum.
Yeah, and I'll probably get sued by fucking Dan Farah, but
yeah, true.
But like, couldn't they get better? Like, why does it look like it's recorded off somebody's cell phone?
Right. Yeah, it does. It does. Again, it's crazy that we already know it. They've already said it. It's already come out. Yes, there's stuff. Why it just keeps getting regurgitated without a plan forward is it's the sticking point. It's why we're just stuck in this Groundhog Day. We're not getting anything to take any of this forward.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to make it real. Let's drop the bombshell here on this, which is that Rubio, especially when this was filmed, was in the Senate. Okay, your Senate and SSCI, which he was the chair and the co-chair of, depending on the administration, is different from the House, is different from the Oversight Committee, is different from the UAP caucus. Okay, way different. These are guys that have the direct line, that sit in the skiff, that people come in and testify with classified Farrier bags and information. That's a whole other ballgame. I can tell you where I was after the skiff and the SSCI for about 2.5 years, and I never messed with the House where they were talking about orbs and Burlison was headed to look at mummies and all this other stuff. They, for a fact, do not believe the alien narrative. They do not believe even the off-world technology narrative. It's not that they gave it a chance. It's that nothing got brought in. And that's some of what my problem is with Grusch's plan. I can tell you for a fact that when I was getting ready to walk into the skiff, the Senate skiff, in the Hart Building, 219, a gentleman staffer came up and told the staffer that I was with that Chris Mellon called. And a staffer I was with said, feel free to talk in front of these guys, right? And the guy went on to say, Chris Mellon said that basically Grusch is going to get his op-ed in such paper, and if that doesn't work, the other one. We know that didn't happen now. I didn't know who Grusch was. So, I said to the staffer I was with, what the hell? I'm in here to speak secrets to you guys and move forward on a deal. You're telling me one guy that came and saw you is now having to go to the newspaper? Like, that's not my plan. And they said, oh, don't worry. The problem with Grusch is nobody in here basically believed him. Okay? Nobody in the fucking Senate believed Grusch. You can believe Grusch. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy.
Right.
But that's why he's at the house sending Burlison down to look at fucking mummies. Okay? So the fact that Rubio's on here to back up what Grusch just said after the story I just told you is horseshit, and it's horseshit that all the people in the Senate, including Rounds, who I have his personal cell phone with, and we briefed over and over and over, is referring to anything to do with aliens or mummies when he said, don't you think for a minute that if China or Russia had this, they would use it essentially to their advantage? It's two fucking different things here. So they should have cut all the Senate stuff and only play the UAP caucus stuff, which are individuals with no power, and they would admit that themselves. Even
Right.
Burlison, who's up for re-election in 2026, has a photo of Donald Trump hugging him. He has the, Donald Trump saying, please re-elect Eric Burlison. He'll get re-elected. I've been in Southwest Missouri. They love him. He wrote a letter and to the vice president saying, can we go to the Nevada test range? And he said he still hasn't heard back from him.
Yeah,
Okay?
they're not
CIA
letting
told
him
him,
do shit. Like there's
CIA
neutered
said
them.
go fuck off, right? These are two different things here. So I just want people to understand you got a UFO conference being set up on the House side, and the investigation that went down on the Senate found no credible evidence, and you're about ready to run yourself into the ground on the House side unless you get some better folks in there, witnesses and actual information they can look at and research. And you're not doing that right now. The whistleblowers that are going forward are being put into a fucking meat grinder.
Yeah,
and I'd say the one other thing that, again, if there were the will and the reason to do it that we're missing, is in the national threat assessment that is a public document, of course, as an unclassified version and a classified version. Does UAP appear in the classified version as a national security threat? Do we need to add it to the public version? If not, to again move the needle and start getting, I think that in and of itself, to have that documented in something like the National Security Assessment, that yes, UAP, a paragraph, you can keep it as generic as possible, just unidentified is unidentified, and without making any assumptions of origins, but put it in the national threat assessment. There's certain things, and this is what I begin to question, right? So when we talk about why experiencers or whistleblowers like Bob Salas, Malmstrom, and other officers who were involved in incidents involving nuclear weapons, why haven't they been in front of Congress? Well, they haven't been in front because when they testify about something that looks like a potential vulnerability to the nuclear stockpile, that is something our allies are going to take particular attention to, considering a lot of them are sitting overseas and whatnot. And then those questions become, well, how do we know the stockpile is safe? Well, now we're going to have to ask the Department of War to come in and talk about, in as general of a sense as they can, how do you know they're safe from these UAP threats? There's no answer they can give that doesn't either perjure themselves or acknowledge that they investigated this event and they're confident they can counter it. Well, how are you confident you can counter it if you don't know what it is? Which means you must know what it is, right? It becomes this catch-22. So the best way is just don't have the discussion. Just don't put them in the hearing that, forces those additional follow-on. And I think that happens in a lot of these scenarios where I sit and wonder, why don't they have the career bureaucrats, sit down? Why don't they have the chief scientists? Because I think that opens doors to other questions that they're not, they don't want to have to be asked or don't want to ask. And does that indicate that this is really, a controlled disclosure, transition by design, drip, and well, this is theatrics to a degree.
Gene got there because we've seen that before. Remember, Burchett was complaining that the guy they sent to explain the video couldn't even stop in it, and he was saying his 14-year-old, daughter could have done a better job stopping the video. It was like a fucking clown show. I mean, it looked horrible. You had a guy there that they probably sent that didn't know. I mean, you should have learned your lesson from all that, but instead what we're getting is whistleblowers that aren't allowed to be polygraphed, to prove that they're not crazy before their face and name goes on national TV.
Right.
Yeah. And it's stories only. And it's like, again, you need to go back to where you started, do it different. The whole plan is off the tracks. This isn't where we need to be.
And then they're afraid to talk, these whistleblowers, because you're seeing how they're getting railroaded and fucking like side railed, in everything that they do. It's crazy. And then you've got the amnesty thing. They're not releasing anything until they're all getting off scot-free. That's the truth. Like, there's no way in hell they're gonna sell themselves up for all the shit they've done.
And again, the amnesty thing, and we can get into it later, or we're gonna do this, once a week, every other week, whatever it is. But like, if you were to tell me that I can have amnesty and tell everybody what's going on, the amount of career people that are actually going to do that, I don't see it. I don't see a bunch of people running out just now because they have amnesty. I mean, you got friends, you got a social network, you've worked somewhere proudly. That may not be the influx of individuals spilling the secrets. And the only reason I want to see it happen is because there's so many people hiding behind that veil of like, well, I can't tell you. I can write a couple more books about it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you. I can say that at a UFO conference, but I won't come in and put my hand on the Bible and swear and tell it to you. So let's run the amnesty thing in there. Let's call some people out for bullshit, but there's nothing there, and you're making up stories, and you're just the lead speaker at the next conference.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with it. I don't care if they're selling books. It's just
And we don't know whose it is. That alone, just that statement alone, deserves inquiry, deserves attention, deserves focus.
If you have objects in the sky that you cannot identify, that's a problem, because it could be China, it could be Russia, it could be any adversary.
Well, any unexplained phenomenon could pose a national security threat.
Clapper.
That's the way you have to treat those things.
There's something violating our airspace. There's something fouling our ranges.
And they talk about Russia and China. Russia doesn't pretend it's us. They know it's not us.
Right. Yeah. They're not lying. It's just like with the drones and shit. Like, what the fuck were they? I saw them every day. I live in Jersey. Legitimately, every day at 5:30, here they were. As soon as the light went dark, there they were. And then when they found out they were coming off the ocean, bro, those things were getting here quick, man. They were getting here real quick.
Again, it's all Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Every one of these people, the big names. Go back to Gillibrand. Gillibrand's the one who's on video. You can find it on Twitter, where she's in a gazebo doing some campaigning, and she gets asked a question about this, and she starts laughing about it. She starts saying, and then one guy said we had alien biologics and what? And she starts laughing, and the crowd's laughing, and she's talking about Grusch. Okay. This is also the same lady that said, I can't even get an analysis of mine on Grusch until he goes to Arrow. I mean, these are not people. The amount of jokes that came up when I was in that skiff and people dying laughing over alien stories and things like this that they'd heard are now being promoted as if this is all believably, they believe in all this nonsense and orbs and all these things.
Right, but then you've got the interdimensional being thing, and like that's the shit that fascinates me is the creatures allegedly that are inside it. That's what I want to know about. That
gentleman on TV and all the others on Senate Select Committee on Intelligence weren't fascinated by it. They're being asked questions about technology, kind of like when we said Dick Cheney said, fuck off, this is our stuff, like quit nosing around. And they're giving answers to it. And it's being tied into Grusch, who, as I said, they basically said, not a lot of people in there believe it. So, I mean, it's just not the same thing. We got to get going on something different than what we're doing. The Senate is gone. As we've seen in the last interview, Gillibrand said now UAP means everything, including drones. I told people before that came out, Cotton hates UAPs. He hates the whole subject. He's now the chair. So they're done. So all you got's the House. And if this is what we're going to do in the House, the UAP caucus, you got another 80 years of no information coming.
Yeah, for sure.
And Vito, like you said, the aliens, the bodies, the all that would be utterly fascinating. We can't get, we can't get the technology out there right now, right? We can't get people's minds around how the technology works. Again, let's just stay focused on that. That's the stuff people see. That's the most recognizable. That's the most interaction the majority of people will have. Let's get them to swallow that pill and digest it and be like, okay, there's stuff in the skies that doesn't. Yes, I have my mind around this. Then let them naturally come to the, so who's operating it? What are these, what's inside, blah, 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 and walk them through. But I'm like, when a conversation opens with lizard people, you're done. You've lost them.
Yeah, for sure. To answer Ty's question in the chat, I think it's going to be Trump as far as releasing disclosure, because Trump's ego's too big. And then you got to compound that with who his fucking uncle was and what his uncle did. I think it's going to be Trump, and then he's going to pass it to Rubio.
I'll give you my assessment. I've shared it before in other forums. So if there is a window for Trump to do it, I think it comes in 2027 around the time it's the 75th anniversary of the DC lights incident or the DC UFO incident, 75th anniversary. And that automatically declassifies documents from that era. And I think if there are documents that had not already been found in which has additional details about the UFOs over DC, then that is a political win in a sort.
Oh, yeah.
Where Trump can say, I'm going to disclose this now. I've declassified these documents, which were going to be declassified anyway. And so he's just not going to stop them from continuing to be classified. He claims the win and then uses that going into 2028, whether it's Rubio or whoever else, to pick up the mantle and be like, so if you want the rest of the details,
right here,
you got to vote in a Republican. Because obviously, if Trump is trying to disclose, then the Democrats' natural position will have to be, oh no, this is a threat to national security and nobody must know.
Then all
right?
of a sudden,
it's a no-win situation for them.
You'll have DEI for aliens and shit like that. So
yeah, I don't want to sound like David Grusch here with the system's trying to keep the disclosure from happening, but on that, I will say that I think when you listen to President Trump talk about this, where he'll say, yeah, I don't know, or I've had some really great top people come in and tell me it's real, but then goes back to he doesn't want to talk about it. And I think as long as the people within the administration at the top keep saying you got to say UFO, which he clearly doesn't want to say, it'd be different if it was presented in as like Gene would present, his papers, the technology and the advancements. Hell yeah, he'd be out there talking about, but he's not going to want to say UFOs. He's not going to want to say 5-foot lizard people. And I think that's working against us, not to get off subject here, but like the JFK files, there's always been a thought that one of the reasons no presidents ever let it out is because they come in and they tell them inside of this information is a detailed way that they could pull this off and happen again, and we have no defense for it. So essentially you're writing your own death warrant. And so every president would say, okay, well, we're not letting that shit out. Right, because that's what they care about. And it's kind of the same thing with this. As long as we keep not being serious about it in front of Donald Trump, there's no way in hell that's going to be his big thing. I mean, I guarantee if this was a serious, we've got documents, we can explain how things work, factual evidence, he would love it, right? Even if it wasn't true, he would love leading into saying it's true, bragging about the Department of War or war power, but we're not doing that right now.
Yeah. We got the UFOs.
A political win.
We got all the UFOs. They're all ours. Like, I just see it coming. It's just, I just, like I said, his ego and his son, dude. His son is majorly into this shit. His son talks about it all the time, and his son is really, really heavily into like the meme culture, and so I could totally see him doing it. Plus, like I said, his uncle was supposedly the guy that took all of Tesla's shit. So.
Yeah, again, there's a way to do it and a way to frame it, where you can address the past, address what's currently seen, give people a sense, some sense of security to say, yes, we have awareness. Yes, we have exploited, technology through the decades. No, not everything being seen every day is extraterrestrial, whatever the case may be. Bottom line, there's got to be a political win in it, and it's going to be strategically timed. It's not just going to be some random Wednesday in June.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just thought how they were trying to make it like disclosure is MAGA, like there's fucking aliens with MAGA hats marching down the street and shit. It's stupid.
Understand this cannot provide an explanation. So I would say, in addition to the national security implications, this has implications for basic trust and confidence in the American government.
Fanatic Sportsbook Fair Play, explained by Libby Dunn, eating a turkey.
I had a pop.
Hey man,
let's talk about this for a while.
I have a Viagra ad play here in a minute or something.
Here we have
pay the bills.
A former Navy pilot describing the UAPs defying extreme weather and physics in SOP 45.
In 2014 to 2015, we were operating off the coast of Virginia Beach, off the eastern seaboard. It was during this time that we upgraded our radar from the APG-73 to the APG-79 radar. And this allowed us to essentially see more objects we weren't expecting to see. And there's a particular case of one of these objects maintaining a complete stationary position inside of 120 knot winds, essentially inside of a hurricane.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west. So look at this thing. It's rotated.
It just seems like they're not affected by the environment the way we are.
And there's testimonial after testimonial like that.
So what do you think about that, Mike? Because you've seen shit, right? So like what do you think of that? Like, is that something that you've witnessed on your sensors, something like that?
I don't. What he's seen, and he's described it before, and I guess my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't actually see it. He's relaying a story of some other folks that were in the squadron, which is not a knock on him. I mean, a hell of a guy, served the country, hell of a pilot.
Yeah, for sure. I've been wanting to talk
to
him for
a while. But it was a circle within a square or something like that. I've never seen it.
The cube.
I've never seen anything like that. I know it split the craft. I've never really heard like the speed it was going, or like if it's got the same sort of incredible display of physics. Not to say that it wouldn't split in two jets, but like, I don't know what that is. I'm not so sure it's what we're looking at for the UAP thing. But keep in mind, everything, including Bigfoot, gets thrown into this bucket.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy.
So now it is a UAP. They're there for flight safety, which again goes back to the whole, like the gentleman on there just said. Besides just national security implications, it goes into trust. None of that has to do anything with NHI and aliens. So I haven't seen anything like that though. There's nothing like that. I've never seen a city block sized UFO. This stuff is foreign to me.
And the shit that you've picked up on your sensors, is it always shaped and looking the same, like the pictures that you've got, or do they look different? Like, have you seen?
You have a couple of generations, which is normal of any craft, right? And that's also when you get into technology's advancement, right?
Right.
Even if you look at something like Gene, and Gene can pipe in on his view as well, but what's in those papers is not going to look the same now as it would back when it was wrote. And it's like that with all crafts. So you would expect newer generations, you expect for it to be weaponized, you expect for it to be able to carry a payload. This is the normal trajectory of military and technology.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the different shape craft and things like that we see, again, like anything, they would be fit for purpose. They would be mission specific. They would have a role in a job that they are carrying out. And to Mike's point, I would expect there's a different variation. The what's in my father-in-law's papers is somewhat close to Bob Lazar's description of the sports model. My father-in-law's stuff seems to be written before Lazar went public, and never mind written during the time of the Soviet Union, where information wasn't exactly flowing freely or easily anywhere in the world. But I think, it's, the fundamentals though are going to remain the same, whatever the type of craft is. They use a compact power system to generate a field, a gravitational and magnetic field around the craft. they manipulate their position within that field. And what we observe is somewhat an anomaly, based on, our positioning, based on, again, our optics and perceptions and everything else.
Well, it's all time. It encompasses time travel. It's like the whole spectrum is just crazy what it could do, right? Like what they're saying.
Yeah, it's again, it sort of operates within its own world, within our world. And, the fact that we're able to see it is the anomaly, that they're sort of always here and always around. It's just because it does interact with the environment. And that's why I had answered a post on X earlier. They were saying, oh, why, a UFO is attracted to lightning. Again, based on my father, they're not attracted to lightning, but because of the way they form these fields, it creates a positive and negative excess charges. And if there's already high ionization in the air, it's going to trigger lightning.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I still would I would love to know what it was I saw, whether it was alien or ours. I don't know. It was shape. I've never seen a shape like that ever. It was C-shaped. That's crazy to me.
Well, hey, at least you didn't have a guy come down on a rope and you're still with us. So you're never going to know. Maybe a good thing.
Out of it.
Yeah. Honestly, I was nervous for a little bit filming them because one of them pulse flashed my camera. I'll show you guys the video. It literally flashes the top of I'm filming it above me, and I didn't notice it at the time, but when I watched the video back, my video does a weird pop thing, and you hear the audio go. I was like, after a while, what the fuck was I didn't do that. And then I'm thinking, I'm standing under these things. They could just delete me. So my kids were wanting to come out with me to film it. I'm like, nah, I want you guys stay home because at least if my stupid ass gets killed by them, I'm not responsible for my fucking 4 kids getting murdered.
Yeah. What is it? An Edgar in a Vito suit asking for sugar and water.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that kind of what happened in the movie Alien? And then the thing came out of the guy's chest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck that.
That happens about 2 years later.
Sugar water.
Sugar water.
And hey, these are all the thoughts Gene's gonna put into your head right before bed when you guys go on your road trip.
Let's talk again at 9. I'll have more ideas.
No, bro, I'm talking about the car-sized drones that were flying over me in Jersey. To Donnie Darko in the chat, like, hell yeah, that thing could delete me. I don't know what kind of. They're showing 1 foot square drones blowing Russians up in Ukraine war. What the hell could that thing do to me? No, thank you.
David, that's not unique to have an experienced fighter pilot. Like our men and women in the military have been quietly coming forward and reporting on this for a long time, only to be told, keep your mouth shut.
No, that's true. And I have Air Force pilot friends of mine that have seen astounding things while on duty, to include a glowing triangular craft, hovering above other aircraft cruising at 50,000 feet. And I did want to point out General Clapper, the former DNI in the documentary. I certainly applaud him for at least speaking out in general. He goes on, I believe, I've only seen clips of Age of Disclosure, not the whole thing, where there was a program when he was the Director of National Intelligence where they were tracking these vehicles over Area 51, of course, the famed classified test location. And I'm a little bit disappointed as a fellow Air Force officer, and certainly General Clapper rose to the ranks as 3-star general. That's all he said in the documentary, that was a program he was aware of. In fact, without being inappropriate, I will say that General Clapper was well aware of the crash retrieval issue, managed the crash retrieval issue, and when he was the DNI, USDI, and DIA director, he placed people in critical roles to manage this issue, both publicly and I'll just say non-publicly as well. And I'll allow the audience distill what I'm saying at the risk of being inappropriate or going too far with my discussion. So General Clapper, Stephanie O'Sullivan, other folks in the IC that are well aware of this issue.
You want me to pause it?
Yeah, I just laugh at. Listen, you gotta blow the whistle, blow that fucker.
Right, fucking as loud as you can. Like, like the fucking like the horn of Gondor, for fuck's sake.
Right.
Like let it flow, bro.
There comes there
enough.
comes a point, when you're, you don't listen. The bridge is burnt. If you're burning bridges, right, whether it's you're engulfing it or you're doing it piece by piece, you're still burning it. So fuck it.
Not only that, do it while, like, for instance, he's at a good time. He's at a good spot right now as far as career, working with the government and being able to do stuff, right? So while you've got all three things and you can kind of just let this shit fly, yeah, man, let it out. Sing that shit at the top of your lungs.
Yeah, well, he's sitting in Burlison's office. I think he otherwise is like a realtor or something, right? Right, as a
he was. I'm not sure of his current. I know from what same thing. I don't know if it's a rumor or not. I heard he had helped out on the new Spielberg movie, which of course is the government giving them information for the leak disclosure to us. But I mean, he's in a better place than he was. He's not going to get in a better place. If this is when you're going to say it, you might as well let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
And he doesn't have a business. He's not chasing a business still like me.
Not selling books. He's not in the limelight ever. Can't get in touch with this guy for shit. I've tried.
You got something to say. There's nothing. I mean, to hold you back. If it's the amnesty, let's hurry up and get amnesty. That's see what he says. But if this is it in 26, it's a flashback of 25, 24, 23. Nobody can talk. Only in the skiff. No one's been in the skiff. I mean, it's a mess.
You think? You guys think he's going to be there next week at the James Fox thing?
I don't know.
I think Burlison will be there. I'll have to look at the schedule and see if they're in town. Hopefully that was scheduled while everybody was in session.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
He may or may not be. I mean, I guess you'll find out.
If Anna Polina Luna could just walk by me so I can see how good she smells, that'd be one. She looks like she smells amazing. You know what I mean?
You just got red flagged by security, so
that won't be creepy at all.
I'm gonna be like this. I swear I'm not being a creepy perv.
Hey, remember that drone you said you'd like to see again? Well, you may tonight.
Oh yeah, probably. I promise you, it's not a creepy thing. You know how you just see people and you're like women, like
and you want to sniff them?
No, not that. How do I explain it? Like you're in their presence and they just smell heavenly, and you're like, wow, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
We're in rooms discussing this issue. I ask you to be greater leaders on this. I should not be the only former military officer and intelligence official that is being completely candid with the information that they were exposed to. So perhaps
once again, James Clapper understates what he knows and what he's done. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk?
But again, this is normal for Clapper. You never said Clapper's hiding UFO biologics. He's just hiding the programs that he would know about. I mean, I don't get it. I don't see what that was.
And he's what, 70 something years old, probably. He's, trying to be active, keep himself busy, collect his pension, collect his retirement pay, whatever it is he gets. And, how deep does he want to get involved? Do you think he wants to be on, doing podcasts at 10 o'clock at night and stuff?
And they're not going to be able to subpoena him because they don't have that power. So again, you got a bunch of stories, but you got no action to take.
Right. And I'm just saying, even if he is a guy that knows everything, does he want to go through the trouble of saying anything?
Not even with the amnesty. He's not going to do it.
Right.
So there was this 9-minute long one. Is this a cut of the first one, or is this new stuff?
That's pretty much what I've seen with the played. I don't think it's
inside the building.
I'm sorry.
First swing district Democrat demand
that has fascinated humans for centuries and continues to. Are we alone in the universe, or even on our own planet? My next guest says not only are
that's
UFOs
more
or now
Kelly and
UAPs.
So did this played already, right?
Yeah. The other ones I think are just
it's the condensed version down of what Grusch said, which is what everybody wanted to hear. Of course, the dropping information, which was a lot of framing. I can understand some things he didn't go any further on, but that just doesn't help. I mean, it's like the whole McConnell thing now we're hearing about, and the chief of staff and the appropriations. None of those people is what stopped you knowing that 5-foot lizards are real, but we have a new name. Just like when
I tell you what, I hope the lizards aren't real, because you sure are fucking with them too much. Like,
go back to the mics, right? When we had the mics, and then Burlison said, well, the one guy is not there anymore, so now we hope we're going to move forward. Well, guess what? You didn't. Now you got a new name. That name's left. You didn't. Now we're going to hope what? That McConnell, who's retiring, is gone. Are you going to move forward? No. Let me just break the news for you already. You don't need a new name. You need a new plan.
Right.
Yeah. And all this, listen, Megyn Kelly show, that's great. Mainstream media, it's getting out there, laying it out for the general public. They seem to be being pretty consistent, at least since Age of Disclosure came out, about having not only Dan Farrar on, but getting other people out there. Personally, I'd like to see more Ryan Graves. Right, I met him. We had a meal. He came to an event we had here in the Boston area. I love what he represents, in so much as it being about the safety of aircraft and pilots, and giving pilots outlets, to tell their stories and all the rest of it. So, for as critical as we can be of, okay, there's, it's a big nothing burger as far as an interview goes for those of us already engaged and informed on the issue. We got to at least give the shout out that they're still working to get it out in the general public, help mainstream media get their arms or minds around it. In a speech, I heard George Knapp back in September, he talked about the two very interesting things he said was, first and foremost, the most stigma that he's found people in journalism are afraid of is the stigma from their peers, from other media, people in media,
right,
as he was trying to cover the issue. And then the other thing was about death threats. And, for all he's done and been involved in, the death threats he's gotten are all come from inside the UFO community. People who are, who do follow this issue, but just don't like his position on things.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Gene said there. And for anybody that's made it this far who hasn't turned us off already, it's not about being critical. It's because, me and Gene, and as well as you, Vito, we care about where this is going. And so we see what's happening from both an outsider perspective, but with some insider knowledge. We're trying to get things adjusted. It's not a personal hit on anybody here. It's just, what else can we do that may be a better trajectory? Because you have to admit, all we're doing is putting new bullies in there that aren't really bullies with a new name. We go after them. They leave. We get rid of them. Someone else comes in. That didn't solve it. Now we're going to subpoena people and people clap, but the person that said it has no subpoena power. I mean, we're living in a kind of a fucking fantasy world here. And that's been the problem with the whole UFO sphere for 80, 90 years, which is that we think the answer is going to come from a paper buried that they're going to release. It's one thing when you have them dropped in your lap like Gene. It's another thing when you FOIA it and it goes through 5 departments to review and they forget to mark out that we got a live alien held hostage at Wright-Patterson or something. It's just,
or you can copy and paste the redacted part and then it shows up on the on the screen.
Anything with AI, shit. We know that's real, including that live alien.
Dumb bastards! Like, what the fuck are you thinking? I just want disclosure. Go ahead.
Oh, so sorry, and to Mike's point, I think the groove where he and I are kind of following into the more of these things we do together. Is this is encouraging people to be more critical in their examination and processing of these things that are coming out, that we need to demystify a lot of the government aspects of things and share knowledge as insiders as to the weight of what is extraordinary, right? So again, Dylan Borland, is a good example. they talk about, oh, he did these things in these missions, and that's the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's very impressive. It's very but that's vanilla. That's the job that you're doing. So in that sense, it's not extraordinary. That's what you are supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the old thing. Well, I take care of my baby. I pay child.
I take care of my kid.
Yeah,
Motherfucker, you're
that's what
supposed to.
do, right?
The best Chris Rock skit ever. I love that skit.
Yeah, so now that does not take anything away from it, but for the public, it's like, so yes, great. Now let's box that and move on. It doesn't signify mystical knowledge. It doesn't signify anything other than he did a good job.
Yeah.
Did the job he was supposed to do. Wasn't a slacker, by all indications. Great. Now move on from it. Doesn't give you any superpowers.
I'm with that. I'm with that. At the end of the day, I just want disclosure. If it's aliens, let us know. If it's interdimensional beings, let us know. If it's all of the above, let us know. Because some of the shit that I was weird last year.
And if you don't know, let us know.
Yeah, if you don't know, now you know. Like
right.
Like tell us. It's just crazy. I don't get it. I truly don't get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll just leave it with this. I would like for there to be changes for multiple reasons, and as I've hinted at, what's going on with the whistleblowers right now is not the right way to do it. And I hope people understand now why I kept my name, my face.
I don't blame you, bro.
Out of this arena, because what good does it do? If your story will walk on its legs, I guarantee it will walk on its legs. And that was always my thing with Arrow, right? Mm-hmm. They told me no one's going to Arrow. Will you go to Arrow? I said,
they're full of shit, right? Arrow. They're full of shit.
They are,
but for disclosure, they're not.
The point being is that SSCI will not analyze anything you say. If you have an address where something's hidden, they don't go. They send Arrow. Now, as you know, I got my issues with Arrow, but I'm saying if you want to win this game, you have to play by their fucking rules. And we're not trying to do that. Instead, what we're trying to do is say, here's an answer. Here's some UAPDA legislation, and we'll put eminent domain in it. There's still no one to go kick down the fucking doors. Arrow's already investigated it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but they've already investigated it, said nothing was found there. That's all off the docket. So the UAPDA, if it passes, there's nowhere for anybody, which will be through the Senate, not through the House, the UAP caucus, to go look. I mean, you're in this fantasy land again of like, you're going to make up your own rules and win this. It's just not going to happen with the U.S. government.
No, because they don't care. And they're too busy lying, and it's status quo. And like they try to say it's for national security. Oh, if we let people know we didn't have control of the skies. Listen, everybody here has seen space movies and aliens, right? You know that they wiped the floor with us. And if these things really can travel that fast and do all this crazy stuff, obviously we're not winning against them. Like it's a fucking common sense thing. It's like someone 5'3" challenges someone 6'9", 390. That's like that's
a big fucking lizard.
Right. It's a huge lizard. Like obviously common sense says Mr. 5'3" is getting that ass whooped. It just doesn't make sense,
I think one of as I throw around the different ideas of what they what NHI would want with us and all the rest of it, I can't help but land on. I'm like, I think they're just totally indifferent to us. They are doing what they're doing for whatever purposes they are doing it, and we just happen to be here, and they're just going on, and we are imagining that they have a lot more interest in us than they actually do.
Or it's the worst nightmare ever, and the abductions are real. We're all getting probed. They're doing God knows what with us. Like the thing that makes me worry about that was Bob Lazar's comment about us being vessels. Also, hi mom, good morning, I love you. Sorry, my mom's in the chat. I have to.
Oh,
it's my mama. I don't care.
Behave then now. I'm glad you shut up.
No. I don't behave. She knows. She knows. She knows what she raised. That's my. But yeah, like what's going on with it? Are they doing bad things to us? Do they? What's the vessel thing? That's
some
shit
might
that's got
be
me worried.
Right? Some might be. That's their thing, is they want to come and understand, and but otherwise, they're just we're just here in the way, hanging around while they've got other stuff to do. And I think that would be I think that would shatter some people's egos if they really,
they don't give a fuck, right? It's just like, oh, they're ants.
Right. Yes, they're, yes, they're a species, but generally they're not interested in who we are or what we're doing. They don't want to get to know us. They're not here to help us. And people will be, there again, there will be people whose self-identities and images will be shattered at the idea that NHI aren't interested in them.
Yeah, I mean, what did we just see with the raid we were just talking about? Normally, if you're interested, you go to where the leader is and you take him down. And we have the question is, why are they not landing on the White House lawn? Well, that's it, isn't it? They have no interest in.
So Ty, for your Skywatcher thing, I'm buddies with, well, not buddies, like I speak with Mike Batista regularly, and supposedly he comes to Jersey often, and he's supposed to do like a little Skywatcher thing. Well, not Skywatcher, I'm sorry, I don't want to. He's not affiliated in that type of stuff with Skywatcher. He's supposed to do some psionic stuff. So if he does, and he's game to have you there, I'll definitely reach out to you, Ty, and have you guys come down. Gene too, if you want to come down for that. I'm sure you'd like to see that shit. Mike, you too. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
I'm jealous already. You guys are going on the ultimate bro trip, and you left me home in Kansas to like watch the house and feed the cats and shit.
This shit was like last minute. Gene and I were talking last night on something, and he's talked about it. I'm like, oh, I'd like to go, and he's like, all right, sure. Next thing I know, I'm invited. I'm like, this is fucking gonna be sweet, because I don't want to do this stuff. It's kind of doing it. It's kind of boring doing it by, like, I would totally do it by myself, but it's even cooler to have, some two cool dudes to do this with. So.
Man, and I can't see Ty. I want to say hi to him. I haven't figured out how to put chat up here yet. Eventually, I'll.
He's in the YouTube the YouTube stream.
Yeah, I've got it up on another screen.
All right. Well, hey, just so I don't forget, Vito, you got a big day tomorrow, man.
I do.
I want to congratulate you ahead of time for anybody that didn't know. You're a fireman, and he's got a promotion tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm a career firefighter. That's what I do for a living, and I'm getting promoted to captain tomorrow. So this is a long time coming. And for those who don't know, I'm actually what's called a rescue. So my mother, myself, my sister, my mother's boyfriend were actually trapped in a burning building. I was 4 years old, 1981, April 19th, for 4 o'clock in the morning, I remember like it was yesterday. Trapped in a burning building. My mother had me hanging out of the window. Police officer was down. We were about 2.5 stories up because of the way that the building was. It was a store underneath us. She lets me go. Police officer catches me. I remember looking in the window, seeing my mom, looking away, looking back in the window, seeing flame. And at 4, I thought my mom and sister died. So it's like, it still fucks with me a little bit to this day, like just the visuals. But 5 minutes later, my mother grabs me, and it's surreal to go from being a rescue to now I'm going to be a captain. One of the captains at the fire department.
So
that's beautiful.
It's a long time coming. I love it, and I got on late. I was a 37-year-old rookie. I took a chance to live my dream, man, and took a pay cut, and it's been great. It's the greatest job ever. I love it, truly do.
I got you. Thanks for putting this on. Hopefully you'll have us back.
Yeah, man. Listen, I have an open door. If you see me here, I want to start doing this regularly, kind of like what Polarity's doing. I'm going to be doing content as well as live to build it. And I want to do exactly what Ty is doing, which is what I've been doing on the gaming side, which is open door. I'll have a link, and anybody, and I literally mean anybody, even the people listening and talking, come in, give your stories. The next episode, I think we're going to do like, I'm sure they'll have no one watching, but I'm going to do like paranormal stories, like tell me your ghost stories. Cause I've experienced some wacky shit in my life. My mother can tell some weird stories about my dad and stuff. Like, yeah, there's been some weird shit. So I'd love to just talk about it, just make this a regular daytime thing. And then I usually do the gaming thing at night. I have another channel called Perfect Storm Gaming. That's got 3,200. And I was doing everything on that channel, but it was just, the algorithm was fucking me. Like I couldn't get traction on a lot of things. So it was screwing me over. But
yeah.
Gene, what have you got going on?
No, just just keep going with it. Do what you do. And again, I think like this. We talked about you and Ty are both creators. I guess becoming a professional guest on things.
Yeah, you guys are welcome anytime, for real.
And just the idea that listen, collaborate, share the info, share the materials. That's what everyone's goal is to get the stories out.
Yeah.
And the more people in their own communities that are able to do that, we need to support one another. Up on my schedule outside of this, I've got, actually I've got a few things. I've got Ground Zero Radio coming up this Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Going, and then I will
that's Eastern, right, Gene?
10:30 p.m. Eastern, yeah. And then we should be hopefully seeing me on the Y-Files here soon.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah, doing a sit down with AJ
cool.
in his new format.
That's cool. That is fucking wow. I'm gonna be like, I know him. Yeah. Mikey, what do you got going on?
You know what? It's all business. It always has been. So, I mean, we've got a couple other phone calls. It's always amazing to me, like, who reaches out, usually through Ivan Hanel, my lawyer, and sets up calls. And so I've got a couple more of those. Fed's still bothering me, wanting me to help them, but that's a good thing. They could be calling for other reasons. So I always say, man, if I show up, I show up. Gene and I have been talking a lot, disagree on some stuff, agree on others, but we're trying to bring out this new format that's like, that's fine. Sit down, talk about it like civilized adults.
Absolutely.
There's like a sickness in this whole fucking community that's also not helping, and we got to just change that before we even change the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I want to merge this gaming world with the UFO world and just have it different. Like a couple weeks ago, I had Ashton Forbes on gaming with us while we were live streaming, talking about UFO stuff. I'd like to do that for, let's just say hypothetically, I have Matthew Brown on the show. He's taking questions while we're gaming, and then I'll kick it over to this side and we'll do interviews and breakdowns. I'll have them on the live stream here. I'm going to have it. It's going to be unity, and I'm all for talking to everybody, talking to anybody, getting anybody on here who wants to talk, shoot the shit, work out, collab. I'm all for it, man. I love it. I love talking to everybody,
Hey, man, I'll be back. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys very much for doing this.
Thanks.
Catch you guys later home. Gene, hit me up with all your links. I'm going to put it in the description so that way people can get to them for all the shows you're going to be on. And you're also on a couple of other disclosure shows, right? You're on Ty's show, which, guys, sub to Total Disclosure, please. That's an awesome show. I love Ty. His stuff's really cool. And then you've been on a couple different things, right?
Yeah. So Fridays, Saturdays, and Mondays, I'll join in the back chat of Disclosure Tonight.
Cool.
So sometimes I'm more vocal than others, depending on the issue. But I generally, sit in there, watch it, and if anything comes up, I can contribute or add value to. I try.
So do they do an open invite like Ty does as well?
Yeah. So when on every show, when you go to the YouTube page, there's actually a link up top to go into the back chat. And then you can, same thing, raise your hand, comment on what's going on, and
cool. All right.
They moderate that.
I'll look to join that. Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And for you guys at home, this is going to be a regular thing. I'll post it tomorrow. Obviously, I'm busy. Wednesday, I got to see what's going on. I might do a show on Wednesday. That might be the paranormal show. So if anybody wants to call in and just tell me your ghost stories, let's do it. That's going to be fun. All right. So thank you guys so much for coming. Have a great day.